You said something very beautiful, at the beginning of the conversation. And I held it back because I don't want to ask till we come to the right moment. You made a statement saying that not everyone should or can be an entrepreneur. And there is no harm to it. So why it's beautiful? Because our chapters of Lifeboat comprises of entrepreneurs, it comprises of investors, it comprises of intrapreneurs.
Yeah.
And why entrepreneurs? Because they become an equally important part, because their story and their thought process is that a job is also fantastic. They have done tremendously well, they are super successful, they're very well known, but they are in a job and they're very, very happy.
Yeah.
Why I ask and why is it so powerful and so beautiful what you said, Naiyya, is because today, unfortunately, entrepreneurship is glamorized. Lot of reasons. बहुत सारा PR आ गया, बहुत सारे platforms आ गए, बहुत सारे episodes आ गए. So people see the beautiful glamour quotient, the wow factor, and they're like, oh my God, this is the reason we want to be an entrepreneur, because it's a shortcut to fame. Hakikat kuch aur hai. And people don't realize the amount of blood, sweat and tears that one goes through to reach that zone. And I say this in my style, and I've said this a couple of times, एक entrepreneur एक कील है. आप कील समझते हो?
Yeah.
And you will resonate a lot because there's such beautiful amount of art in your house. कि दा उम्र भर वो कील बोझ उठाता रहा. दा उम्र भर वो कील बोझ उठाता रहा और ये कमबख्त दुनिया जो है उस तस्वीर की वाह करके निकल गई.
Wow.
So जो दिखता है सिर्फ वही दिखता है. But no one sees behind.
We should have a whole episode of you just like reciting your shairis.
There are
It's
too
beautiful.
many of them, then we'll get a little shairana andas. But I want to now come to this mindset, and I want you to give some learning, some reasons, some thoughts to our viewers to say, why is it okay not to be an entrepreneur? Why is it okay to do what you're doing and do it so well that you can be equally happy, equally successful? So when I say that, I mean, if I have to take and ask you 2-3 such instances or learnings where you would say that the fragilest of moments, where the most resilient of people can break, because entrepreneurship makes that out of you, so that people understand the value not just about entrepreneurship, but also about entrepreneurship, also about a job, also about, because यार हर कोई entrepreneur बनेगा तो यार टीम कैसे बनेगा, काम कैसे आगे बढ़ेगा? It's two sides of the coin, and both are equally important. So take us through that.
No, so I mean, Vinayak, the reason I say not everybody needs to or should be an entrepreneur is because, I mean, it's such a, it's a personality trait as well, right? I mean, today I was actually speaking at a session a couple of days back, and the question was asked is, what advice would you give to some of the people in this room if they want to be entrepreneurs? And the first thing I said was, introspect deeply. And introspect deeply on a couple of things. Introspect deeply on what stage in your life are you at, right? Are you ready to, give like your 12, 18 hours a day to building something grounds up? The effort, the rigor it takes, right, is a different beast altogether. Secondly, financially, what stage of your life are you at, right? Because while we are all, and I'm a big believer, now of like really profitable cash-rich companies, it takes time for these to nurture to that level, right? So financially, are you at a stage where you can afford to take that bet? And thirdly, what's that ecosystem you have around you of support and care and security in some sense, right? Because again, you go through so much up and down as an entrepreneur. If that ecosystem around you is fragile today, right, or is not accepting of that choice, or upar say they're accepting, but when really they see you having to put in those hours, that time or that energy, and not going for family vacations, honestly not having friends anymore, right?
You're like a pariah.
Yeah.
I remember I got stopped calling out on parties or anything else, saying, "Yeah, tu to kabhi aayega hi nahi."
Correct. It's only the last, like I said, the last 3 months I've been sleeping. The last 3 months I've actually been able to, I would say, resuscitate my friendships with friends outside the entrepreneurial network that were honestly on ventilator, right? So that's the third thing, right? I mean, are you okay with that? And I'm not trying to again glamorize it, because in the suffering also there's a lot of glamour.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to glamorize it. That is real. And also, of course, there are companies that are built long-term, sustainably.
You said something so beautiful, and I want to outline this. There is glamour in suffering in hindsight.
Yeah.
There is never
The
glamour and
in
suffering
that
when you're
process.
suffering at that process, and
Correct.
people don't realize that.
Correct. But you know, outside in, you know, then you look at these stories, like I'll tell you the story of, oh, my knees buckled, and like, oh, wow, what a story.
But
She
what they
bounced
don't
back.
realize is, you are able to say this today.
Yeah.
What they need to realize
Yeah.
is how your emotion would have been at that
Yeah.
point of time.
Yeah.
And are you strong enough to take that?
Yeah. And I don't know whether I was strong enough or not. I just know that I was resilient enough to bounce back, right? And I think that is, anyway, so I think,
That's
anyway.
the Rocky philosophy.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, by the way, Rocky's one of my favorite movies.
So I want to show you, you like it. That's the Rocky philosophy.
It's not how hard you hit, but how far, yeah.
It's how quickly you can bounce back and how far you can go after getting hit.
Correct. So anyway, so I think it's a set of very practical choices and a very, very deep introspection and a conversation with yourself and your loved ones on whether this is the right time for you. I think the second thing to it is that, you know, there's a lot. I mean, I really credit my time at McKinsey with teaching me a lot of things. You know, the culture at McKinsey and is incredible, Vinayak. And I'm so grateful I was exposed to it growing up, right? What was it about? McKinsey globally, आप किसी को भी मिलो, कहीं से भी McKinsey का कोई भी बंदा बंदी हो, right? You know they're from McKinsey because there's collaboration, there's a pursuit of excellence inbuilt in them, teamwork is given, right? And non-hierarchical in nature. You know, I think these, and of course, like a very, regardless of what the press tells you, but for most part, very strong sense of ethics, okay? So I think these are the things that define the McKinsey experience for me.
Right.
So, I mean, broadly summarizing, I think, you know, when you're, I actually tell a lot of younger folk that there is absolutely a lot of value in working with corporates and working with scale startups because you get a benchmark at least, right, for what processes could look like, structures that support scale and agility at scale could look like in successful companies and startups. And of course, I think, you know, having structured processes to being a coach, to being a mentor to your teams, I think it's a very, very important part of just learning how to be an entrepreneur. Yeah? I mean, because you're not going to be building a small company, you're going to be building very, very large entities. And how do you build the skill set to actually, you know, address the needs of what a large organizational structure requires from you? You need to have seen some of those experiences firsthand. Everything can't be learned on the job.
True. And at times you may not even need to take that plunge, right? You may be very good doing what you're doing.
Correct. 100%.
Stay there, build there, and have a fantastic career.
Make your wealth there as well. I mean, right now, the good thing is that corporate India is actually also, in many cases, a very lucrative option for people. You know, I mean, you mentioned
not compared to entrepreneurship, where we are.
No, I think, no, but I think we talk about the stories of the successes in entrepreneurship. Yeah. If you look at the general successes or well done journeys in corporate India, they probably made a lot more money on an average, right? Than, let's say, a lot of the entrepreneurs who try to become entrepreneurs, right?
Absolutely. So I think the ratio is 1:100, yeah. 1:100 in terms
Easily.
of success.
Easily.